How would a business develop this data-driven culture within an organization?
Yeah, that's a really essential question. And I actually saw a recent survey of analytics leaders that showed that 67% of organizational culture is the biggest barrier to becoming a data-oriented company. The old saying, the tone at the top is important. The companies need to let data be the language that they speak across the company. Everybody needs data literacy. Data is everywhere. And so it's not okay for people to think that you have to be a data scientist or be in IT to use data. It is really the new currency. You mentioned it's the new oil. It's the language of business, and we all have to be able to speak it fluently. So one thing that you can do is start to engage business partners to start to leverage data prior to creating business cases or strategic plans. What information can you bring in as you're starting to design those go forward measures and the direction you want to go? One thing that I like to do is risk profiling workshops. So I get with senior leaders, and for example, I just worked with a company that's in the asset management space, and they are considering a merger. So what data can we bring in? What risks can we see because of that? And what decisions do you need to take now and in the future because of that? One of the things, I'll give you an example of something that we did both at Exelon and Everest, is to build a learning academy around analytics. And at Everest, we called it Building Leadership in Analytics and Data at Everest, or BLADE. And the idea is that data is like a blade that can help you cut through decision making because you've got some facts to rely on rather than just opinions. But the key there is to engage many skill sets. So we had actually between 5 and 7 persona of people that were doing this data. So the first one was everybody in the company had a mandatory training around data hygiene and data literacy, what you can benefit from, how do you keep data safe, et cetera. And that's everybody's business. And then from there, it went up and said, now maybe you're a project manager. What do you need to know about the data in your project? And then on and on up to finally the kind of pinnacle was to work on data visualization. You can make a lot of conclusions with data, but if it doesn't tell a story to business people making decisions, it's not going to be effective. So there's a skill to this data storytelling to remove the noise and focus people's attention on what are the key insights. So it's important that people understand data is everywhere, and everyone from janitor up to the CEO and the board can leverage it in a variety of ways. One of the big differences that's come recently is making data freely available company-wide, not siloed. That means that via APIs, you can lower the cost of implementing new data-driven tools or inquiry. So that's a thing that business people can just get in partnership with their IT departments to start to say, how can we feed this data automatically into some of our measurements, build dashboards that use data intuitively and automatically without having to go through as many manual spreadsheets that we know are not that much fun.
Yeah, no, I think definitely data literacy is the big challenge. And just out of interest, how do is that weekly or fortnightly training for teams? Because obviously constantly evolving and there's a lot to learn as well, isn't there?
It is. So what we did in my last 2 companies, it was an annual training. Again, that was mandatory for all staff, just like a compliance training or a cybersecurity training or a human resources diversity training, all those things that in companies we generally take every year. The data training was updated annually. But then we also had frequent things like we had lunch and learns. And we had throughout the year, we implemented I guess you call it a hackathon, but really we just brought business problems from each of our areas in the company to the effort and had people find what data they could inside and outside the company and then solve problems. And then we displayed these and people won prizes, et cetera. So what not so much coding, like a normal hackathon is programming, right? This was about solving problems through data. And that got the whole company involved in seeing the outcomes and then implementing them in the business areas and getting funding for it and all of that. Making it alive, making data alive and useful to the company is really the key.
Yeah, and it's also exciting, isn't it? It's like you said, winning prize, things like it makes it a bit more entertaining and I guess it brings the team together as well, the culture.
Absolutely. Everybody is all around working together, pulling in the same direction, which we know is always a good thing.